This is Lee with Crash Test Hobby. We're going to build a Roswell. Let me show you how I do it. We're going to start by gluing the cores together. Red dots to red dots, blue dots to blue dots. I use a low temperature hot glue. High temperature will change the shape of the foam. We cut the plane into 4 pieces so that we can ship internationally and not have some of the postage problems that come with bigger boxes. Now trim your elevons to length. Make sure that you make both a right and a left elevon and that the bevel is up. At this point you need to choose the top of your plane. Using the edges of the wing, I line it up and trim the elevons to length. Always use a new sharp razor blade to keep the foam from tearing. I like to trim the corners both for looks, and it also keeps the elevon from rubbing on the rudders later. We're now going to install the radio. Battery pack is back 3.5 inches. Receiver and speed control are back 5.5. A motor box is back 7.5. There's also a place for the motor to be mounted that's 1.5 inches wide and 1 inch deep. And then the servos are out to the sides 1 inch on each side of the motor box. I like to pin a metal straight edge in place and then cut with a soldering iron. And I'll show you in a minute how the extended tip can be done by loosening a screw and sliding the tip out. This looks real fast here, but the cut is fairly slow just for the sake of the density of the foam and the length of that tip on the soldering iron. We're going to harden the nose of the plane by using E-tape and a shock cord. Makes the plane so it'll last for years, even when you hit things with it. You'll see how I work around and just using that straight edge, cut the foam. This also causes the foam to melt, and it has a higher density where the cut is made. Now see that long tip? That's just a normal pencil one where I've loosened the screw and pulled the tip out. You want all your battery and radio to fit in tight. First of all, empty space collapses in an accident, and second of all, it keeps your radio from being damaged. Hardest part on this plane probably is what we're doing right now, which is cutting out the motor box. And it's not the problem of cutting it out, it's beveling it so that you have decreased wind resistance. And now we're cutting out where the actual base of the motor goes. That's 1.5 inches wide and 1 inch deep. Now I have jigs. You'll see the jigs here. I have them set up for almost every different component I do, even the battery box. But I want to show you with the old-fashioned way of just measuring it and making cuts. And take your box knife and soldering iron and just clean up the cuts. We're cutting out that motor mounting spot here. And the radio slot for the receiver and the speaker control don't need to go all the way through. I like the servos to sit so the top of the servo is flush with the top of the plane, both for wind resistance and also to protect the servo. Well, we've got it pretty much fit in. I drilled extra holes in the stainless steel mounts so my screws wouldn't hit my battery. That's not possible for some of you, so put the front 3 screws in and then quick grip glue the mount to the plane and then put a piece of clear tape over the top and it will hold it in place. Now we're beveling the front and the back of the motor mount. We make a 3/4 inch bevel, top and bottom. And you can see I'm doing it with a box knife here. Box knife, good sharp box knife will cut through the foam. And you can see the importance of my metal guide there. You don't need to do anything with the sides, just the front and the back. And then I use a soldering iron and a regular iron to smooth out the cut. Now we're doing the same thing on the bottom. Oh, I guess this is the top. I've been really impressed with the way this plane flies. My total building time on one where I'm not shooting a movie is probably about 3 or 4 hours. And then I'm using an iron turned to its highest temperature to smooth out the cut. This will leave some residue on the iron. Don't use your wife's clothes iron or she'll never talk to you again. So install the shock cord by taking a sharp razor blade and cutting a slit around the perimeter of the wing. We're going to put a non-stretching cord in there that I've run through the bottom of a pan, and that works perfect to just feed that right in around. You want to keep tension on the cord because the tension is what pulls it all together. And then I tie it off at the front, and then I'm going to glue it in with quick grip glue. And I just squeeze the glue in around the perimeter. And what oozes out actually is I smear around the edge of the core, and it gives kind of a rubber-like feel to the nose of the plane and wherever else it is. Kind of surprising how much strength this adds. Now we're going to install the flat carbon spar. It's back 11 inches from the nose of the plane. Spar is 20 inches wide. I cut a slit with a razor blade. That's why we like these spars, because it'll fit in a slit. And I'm making a mark so that I can make sure I get a good cut. And then I run that razor blade down the cut. Just a little bit deeper to make sure that the whole spar will fit. I put some baking soda on it, which will act as a catalyst to the thin CA that I use to glue it in. And then after sanding the spar, I press it into the slot, and then I glue the spar in. Watch out for the fumes with this. The CA glue and the baking soda can create some fumes. Now we're going to harden the nose of the plane with E-tape. E-tape is a bidirectional tape that has about 150 pounds per inch of strength. And I just put it from the motor cutout forward. Flip it over and do the same thing on the top. I put right over the radio and the battery compartments. And then we'll put a piece down each side on the leading edge and wrap it around the leading edge. This plane came out also at about 21 ounces, ready to fly with all electronics and battery. You can see why it's going to be so durable with all the composite type building we're doing here. There's a second video showing you how to finish the plane. Thank you for being a customer. We appreciate you watching, and we hope you have as much fun flying as we do.